Hey everybody, I'm Rima.
And I'm Shawn.
And this is Strange Indeed, a podcast dedicated to the movie Wonder Woman.
No. Back up off my Kool-Aid. What's up, everybody? I am Richard.
And I'm Shawn.
And we are speaking the language of bromance. And if you haven't guessed, which of course you have because you heard it, we have a very special guest with us to talk about a movie.
Oh, Richard, we searched far into the DC universe and we didn't find what we wanted because we found something better. We've got my former co-host Rima to join us today to talk about Wonder Woman 1984. Rima, thank you so much for joining us. I've had some texts with Richard, so I'm not sure how this is going to go, but hopefully maybe you liked this movie a little bit better than he did.
Well, first, thanks for having me, guys. I love being on the show with you guys. You guys always make me laugh, and it's always so much fun being here. So first, thanks for having me. I'm honored. And I don't know. I think we're all going to have some thoughts, I think, on Wonder Woman. I know I have some thoughts. So, yeah. That's all I'll say until we talk about it.
Exactly. Let's go with thoughts.
Yeah, the big, at least, so the one thing I'll start off with, at least to make it kind of a good, that's a good feel to start it off. My wife, Tiffany, she's not big into movies and stuff. Like Mandalorian, she watches religiously. And she liked the first Wonder Woman. So when this came out, she was all about wanting to watch this. And she didn't hate it. And she did cry a couple times. And I don't think there were tears of fear, or not fear, but tears of hatred and this ruined my movie. Why am I up past 10? So at least she seemed to kind of like it, which made it more enjoyable for me. But if you guys, so what I wanted to do for this is to kind of go back to the roots of Strange Indeed and do a top 5, or at least 5 things we want to talk about. They don't necessarily have to be top things, but do some of our top 5 items from Wonder Woman 1984.
I was going to say my wife felt the same way. She was very, very excited and jazzed to watch this movie. And it's usually comic book movies are not something that, we oh my God, we got to watch this together. The only 2 comic book movies I've ever seen her get excited about, Captain Marvel and Wonder Woman. And we got done watching Wonder Woman 84 and she was not a happy camper.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll leave that there, but you wanted a top 5. We'll let our lovely guest. That's right, guest.
It's all right. I know my role. It's good. It's all good.
you can go ahead and kick off this review of a movie.
You're not even gonna name it, are you?
It's a movie.
It's a movie. Okay. Well, yeah. Let's jump into our top 5 from Wonder Woman 1984. So does that mean I get to go first?
Yes,
we'll
please.
Let you lead off. Yeah, lead us off.
Awesome. Well, thanks. Well, I'm gonna start off. I'm gonna try and go something with a little bit positive. This is kind of short and sweet, and I'm interested to see if you guys kind of feel the same, at least about this part. Is the score? I thought the score was really good. It was Hans Zimmer. That did the score for Wonder Woman 84, and I thought it was good. When we were, or during the prologue, when we're taken back to the Mascaria, I thought that it was energetic. It was full of energy. During the chase in Cairo, I think it really kind of set the stage, and I think it just gave a great vibe, when it needed it. I think it kind of helped supplement for maybe where there were some other failings, with dialogue and plot and things like that. I thought that was great. Anyway, so I don't know. Did you guys even get into the music or really is that something that you guys kind of pay attention to when you're watching movies like this?
I thought the original music was great. I mean, like you said, like Hans Zimmer could write. I don't know. He could remake Chopsticks, and I'd be down with it.
Yeah,
because I mean, I would say the original score was great. But Shawn, you go ahead, because actually, that comment about the music in the movie actually kind of leads to my very first point.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, I mean, it wasn't. So it's kind of like Star Wars. Like whenever the moments happen with like Luke and that, like they have a specific song that plays, and I don't think they really leaned into Wonder Woman's theme from the first movie too much. Like, I think there's a part where she gets the armor, or there's one part where they kind of play it, but it's really like quieted down.
Yeah.
And that's one of those. It's just like when that happens, like that song still gets me jazzed. It's my sister's ringtone. And yeah. And so I'll text her just to call me so I can hear it, because it is a really like pumped up.
Tina
like,
Guo.
Yeah, if I ever become like a fighter in the UFC, which will never happen, that's what I would come out to. But it felt good, but like I said, like it didn't give me as much like push as the first one did. And for this being kind of a timepiece as well, I don't feel like they kind of leaned into the time period it was supposed to take place in.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Well, and yes, I will agree with you. I was focused mostly on the score and not so much the lack of opportunities that they had where they could have really leaned into 1984 and that whole era. There were a lot of missed opportunities with music here. So I purposely omitted that part and wanted to just lean on the original stuff.
Yeah. No, yeah, exactly. The original music was fantastic. But one thing that I felt lacked, which I think goes for not just the music, but everything. Oh, not everything, but the thematics of it is you're calling the movie Wonder Woman 84. That's in the title of the movie. What about this movie screamed 1984 to you? Aside from a joke about a fanny pack.
Yeah, the first 15 to 20 minutes, it's very much 80s. It's the mall. It's a little bit going on there, but post that, it kind of leaves the 80s in the dust.
Exactly. So why put it in the title? Why are we putting it in, like, you could have sent this movie. I mean, okay, so not to, but like a great example, Stranger Things leans into the 80s hard, you know? Like you get the mall, you get music, you get clothing, you get, clothing, costumes, cars, music, the mall. Like Stranger Things didn't need to be set in the 80s, but it is, and it is. They put 84 in the title of this movie, and it could have been set in 2020.
Yeah, lot of missed opportunity. I think the only thing that they got right about it was kind of a little bit of the theme of, like with Max Lord's character, the greed thing,
yes.
The whole 80s thing, it's not less is more is more.
Yeah, the Gordon Gekko.
Right, that whole thing. I feel like they got that right, but that's about it.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, that was kind of my first point is, what about this is 84? And I guess it seemed like, I'm not trying to be petty about it or harp on it, but you put it in the title.
A good point. Yeah, if you're going to set it there, I feel like you should lean into it a little bit. And like you said, why put it in the title? They could have called this so many other things. Wonder Woman, I can't even imagine. I'm not creative enough to come up with an alternate title or anything. But if you're going to have it in your title.
If you're going to put it in the title,
shouldn't they have the big thing around this is that Rock too, and you're talking about the 80s, like the big thing in the 80s would have been essentially the Cold War, right? Like, should they have leaned into that, or is there concerns about that not being?
I felt like they did a little bit
at the
with
end,
the Cold War. That to me had its own problems, had its own problems there too. But, you know, thematically, nothing about this movie screamed 1984 to me, aside from the let's poke fun at it a little bit. Oh, look, this is set in a mall.
Mm-hmm.
They had malls. Remember malls, kids? Like that's
the jazzercise like little thing that they were doing. Yeah.
So is that your number 5, Richard? Kind of leaning into the 80s, not leaning into the 80s.
Yeah. Like if you're gonna name it Wonder Woman 84, then show me why this story needed to be told in 1984.
Yeah, like I said, I think the first 20 minutes you get that, but kind of in the middle and towards the end of the movie, it's almost like, oh yeah, this is supposed to be in the 80s because I saw a tube TV somewhere.
Yeah.
And maybe when they do, really they could almost reshoot this and call it Wonder Woman 94.
Yeah, easily could have.
And it'd still be kind of close to it, but well, for my number 5, I'll go with something positive. And I know when we first saw the trailer for this, we were talking about one of the main villains in this, Cheetah. And in the first trailer, when we saw the full Cheetah costume, I remember Rich and I talking offline once and being like, oh, that kind of looks like the cats, like the human cats from Cats.
Yeah, it looks like cat. It looks like Wonder Woman's gonna have a fight with Rum Tum Tugger.
Yeah. But I feel like the actual finished product, and I don't know if they worked on this more with the time they had or not, but I feel like the main battle and the look of Cheetah at the end, it looked good to me. Even the close-ups and everything looked fairly legit. It didn't look too cartoonish. It didn't look too fake to me. It looked like it kind of fit what was trying to happen there. And even how she got to become Cheetah at least kind of made sense in this universe. Not like 100%. Like I don't know the origins of the original Cheetah, like from the comics.
That I don't remember either.
But it felt kind of like, okay, this makes somewhat sense. And I thought, but the look specifically, I thought was something that when I saw it, I didn't roll my eyes at. Like it wasn't like a Ninja Turtle with a weird face that you're like, that's not a turtle. I don't know. How'd you guys feel about the Cheetah's look? Was it still kind of like trailer feel, or do you think it was better?
No, I would concur. I did not feel like she was having a fight with Rum Tum Tugger or Mr. Mephistopheles. But I did notice that a lot of those shots were very far away and not lit, not spectacularly lit.
Well, this is produced by Snyder, and he doesn't like much lights on his set.
That's true.
Gosh, well, and actually, Cheetah is my number 4, so I'll just kind of chime into what you were saying. As far as Cheetah, what I didn't like about her character is that they made me sympathize with her. And I really wish that maybe she was a little bit more evil, a little bit more malevolent, where in the movie she was just kind of jealous. And I don't think that stayed so much true to her character from the comics that much. But I did think Kristen Wiig did a really good job. I like a lot of what she does, maybe not everything, but I like a lot of what she does. And I thought she played the character kind of well. She's kind of frumpy and, she's shy and she just, can't walk in heels and, she wants to be more confident and stuff. So I thought she played that really well, as Barbara Minerva. And I didn't hate the CGI too much there at the end, when she kind of fully transformed into Cheetah there at the end. I thought they could have done better, not just with that, but a lot of CGI in the movie, to be honest. There were, I think, some other parts that were not so great where it was pretty obvious. But so I think they probably could have done a little bit better. But it wasn't that bad. I didn't really hate it. I was like, okay, well, I can handle this. And I see why they went that way. So
do you think, so this might be kind of a stupid question, but do you think that the CGI looked better because it was on, our home 50-inch to whatever inch TVs instead of a huge, big movie theater screen? Like, do you think if we went and saw, because I didn't see this in theaters, I saw it at home.
Yeah.
Even though it did like 16 million in theaters, so
yeah,
it did fairly well.
I was gonna ask, did anybody see it in the theater? I mean, between the three of us, like I didn't. And
I watched it at home. So, I wonder. I think there's some debate that a lot of folks think that there wouldn't be so much maybe dislike and hate for the movie, because I know a lot of people are having issues with it if if it had just strictly been a theatrical release and had things been more normal and, you know, like before, and we're all gathering in the movies, you know, to watch it, that it would have come off a lot better. I don't know that. But
I don't know, because I don't really feel like because like you think the first Wonder Woman, there's that no man's land scene, and that's one where like everybody erupts in the crowd, and I don't know if there was really one of those scenes in this movie.
I don't think so either. I don't know. I was thinking about that. I was like, you know, trying to kind of place myself watching that movie in the theater, and I don't know if it has to do just because maybe you're so focused in the movie theater, you know, you're not at home. You know, with maybe distractions or something, you're kind of in it. Maybe, I don't know. But there were some folks that had that theory that maybe it would have been better had it been theatrical.
Yeah, you know, that's a good point, because so my wife doesn't watch a bunch of movies, but like if you're in the theater and like you're focused on this, you're in a crowd, like it might kind of tweak those emotions a little bit, because I remember when we went to see Batman v Superman, and when the whole Martha scene happened. Like in the theaters, like when it's like, oh my God, their moms are the same name. And I look over, my wife's crying because she's like, oh my God, they both have moms named Martha that aren't here. And like I left, I'm like, that was a pretty good movie. And the first like trending thing on Twitter is Martha. Like, oh yeah, I guess that is kind of dumb. So I don't know if maybe like watching it at home, it just takes a little bit away from it.
I think it would have made more money.
Oh, it definitely would have.
Yeah, definitely.
It would have made more money, but I think what you would have had happen is the same thing that happened with Batman v Superman, where it would have had like a really nice opening weekend, and then the bottom would have dropped out.
To be fair, the articles and stuff I'm seeing is they're saying that this opening proves that people want to go back to the theater, because when Tenet opened, it only did like 9 million.
Yeah.
And so this has almost doubled that during Christmas time, where people are either going someplace or staying home already. It seems like quite a few people at least ventured out to check it.
True, but I think I would say in that case, you also have to consider what they always call the holiday multiplier. Like, you know, there's a reason why we got a Star Wars movie every December for 4 years straight, is because it released, you know, right around Christmas time, because they wanted that, what they called the holiday multiplier. So you got to think like, yeah, Wonder Woman made, you know, what you said 16
like
million.
16.1.
So Wonder Woman made 16 million, and that is considering that people want to go to a movie theater, and it was and it was a holiday, so you had, you know, families that wanted to go.
Yeah, but to be fair too, like devil's advocate, Tenet was out, and the only place you could see it was theaters. With Wonder Woman, you could see it in theaters or at home. So those people who spent 16 million could have easily just bought it at home.
True.
So it's you know, this is one of those things I think years from now people are going to write papers on, like the psychology of all this stuff, and you know, what made people go and what didn't. To touch back on Kristen Wiig, like you mentioned her in this. I have a really hard time with people from SNL, like watching them and things.
Sure.
And Kristen Wiig, I don't know, like I want to see her in a character that doesn't talk like she doesn't know what she's going to say. Because just in every movie, it's kind of just like she ends on like she's like, best way to say it, just kind of like really holds the last word, like, you know, almost like it's a question every time. You know, when she asks the guys, like, you know, can you help me with these papers? Like she's looking back at the director, like, is that the line? I'm not sure. Is that the line?
See, I was in general, I was happy. I was happy with Kristen Wiig's performance, and that would actually dovetail, because you know, I don't want to be Captain Hater here, but you know, as a good point, I would say that performances across the board for me felt good. Mm-hmm. I was happy with Gal Gadot. I was happy with Chris Pine. I was happy with Kristen Wiig. I was happy with Pedro Pascal. Like, I was happy with their performances on the screen.
Yep, same.
The things that they were saying, and you know, were left to be desired. Mm-hmm. But you know, this movie honestly showed me that those people can, those people deserve the money that they got.
Honestly, like just thinking about that, this feels almost like an extended third act from the first movie. Because I think everybody in Wonder Woman, the first act and the second act, everybody I think loved. But that third act with like the explosion, the plane thing, I think a lot of people, at least I forget about that.
Yeah.
And
so
I
the
kind
third
of
act of Wonder Woman one, like you definitely was like, oh, Zack Snyder Snyder was around for this bit.
And so I almost feel like this is a little bit of an extension of that kind of with the acting, or not the acting specifically, but how the direction they were going. There was a lot of parts that had me kind of like sitting there thinking like, oh, okay. Like the mall scene, like I felt like that should have been a really cool moment, but it almost felt like the Spider-Man scene of just like beating up the bad guys and hoisting them up. And like, it was cool. Like it worked, but it felt, I guess for a comic book movie, it felt too comic booky.
But wait, you can't say Spider-Man because Spider-Man shoots webs and slings across the sky. Wait a second.
So you got that feeling too?
What? We're riding the lightning with our magic rope. I
did feel like that was badass, even in the scene of the trailer, seeing it.
It looked cool, but
Spider-Man can't do that.
Right there, I'm like, doesn't Spider-Man do this? Where he throws the thing out and then hooks onto things and swings?
Yes, but not on lightning.
Not on lightning. This is true.
Yep. Yeah, if he did that, his web would conduct the electricity and it would shock him, and he'd be a fried spider.
Yeah. And at one point, she kind of learns how to fly. ?
Yeah, because Wonder Woman can fly in the comics and stuff, right?
Okay. It's like off and on in the comics. Like sometimes she can fly, and sometimes she like super leaps, where she just like jumps really far. It always just depends on who's writing the comic at the time. That's how it seemed to me. Like, oh, Wonder Woman can fly now. Okay.
See, you know what? If they would have set this in the 90s, they could have had the Foo Fighters learn to fly playing when that happened.
Could have.
Missed opportunity.
Yep.
Well, so for my number 4, this is kind of a plus, even though I was complaining early on about the first part being kind of too comic booky, but this did have a very like 80s Christopher Reeve Superman throwback feel, right? Like it's a movie where there's not like anything super dark or super scary or super like you go to bed like, oh my God, what happens if Darkseid does come to Earth? Mm-hmm. It was more of just like, oh, it's a one shot. The good guy wins. The good woman wins, defeats the bad people, and everybody goes on their way. Like if you think too much about it, it hurts your brain. But if you just watch it for what it is, it just kind of works. But again, it's one of those things. If you think about it too much, you ruin the whole thing for yourself.
I think that is a good mantra to have for this entire movie. I would say yes, it felt like a Christopher Reeve Superman movie, but I would say it felt like Superman 4. Quest for Peace.
No, I agree. I don't know. Did you get the feel like they were trying to recreate that with her flying, like almost like you could believe a person could fly?
Did she? I mean, did she fly, or was she riding the wind? Or
I feel like she was flying.
I feel like she was flying too.
Yeah,
I think she figured out like, hey, I can fly.
Like she figured out like she was able to channel something, and through that conversation that she was having with Steve in the jet, that she was somehow able to kind of harness something and realize that was something, something else that she could do.
Yeah. Yes, I do feel like she did learn to fly. Which, I mean, was that the point of the movie?
Did she?
Because it kind of felt that, oh, this is the movie where Wonder Woman learns how to fly. All right.
Did she fly in any of the Justice League or Batman v Superman movies?
Well, she you see her land with kind of like the superhero landing in a few of the movies.
Well, and I think in the first one, she's able to leap really high.
Yeah.
And I think that she did it at the end when she's fighting Hades. Sorry, it wasn't Hades. Sorry.
Ares.
Thank you. I was thinking Hades for some weird reason. And she leaps very high and then lands very powerfully, kind of shakes and cracks the ground and stuff. But, we haven't really seen her. I think that was the extent that we've seen so far in the movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, I guess if you're asking, like they said it in the 80s, they missed a lot of opportunities to showcase the 80s. But I think the feel, at least for the movie, they tried to make it like an 80s Superman movie, even though it was Superman 4.
Even though it was Superman 4.
But Rima, what do you have for your third item?
Well, one of the other, and gosh, I'm really trying not to be like super negative because it's not typically what I do. And that's why I start off with something positive. But it's
true, Richard. We watched Lost in Space and we finished the whole season 1.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that
and
one
tried to maintain some positivity throughout. So yeah, so this is not what I'm very good at. I always try, and I wanted to. Oh my gosh, because I can't even begin to tell you how much I wanted this movie to be awesome. I have loved Wonder Woman since I was 5 years old.
Yeah,
the comics. And I know people give crap to the series with Linda Carter. Years ago, but that's what I grew up on. I mean, I had the Wonder Woman underoos and everything that I ran around in my house, and that was how kids run around in their Halloween costumes. That was what I did. I ran around the house in Wonder Woman underoos,
nice.
all the time.
Nice.
So, she was my first superhero, and she was female and she was strong and she was badass, and she didn't need a man, in her life. And that was one of the problems I had with this movie was she was hung up on a guy, and I'm like, she doesn't need a man, and I hate that she had to go through this whole chain of events for her to finally get there. I think she finally got there at the end of this movie, and that's, I think, what helped her get to that point where she could fly, and she realized that she had all of these abilities and she was able to kind of move on and stuff. But I hate that we had to go through this for her to get there. And look, I'm a romantic. I'll be the first one that I go goo-goo over, some romance, not really rom-coms, but, I love a good, romance and stuff. And, and I believe that there's that one person out there, maybe that perfect person for you. But, it took her 70 years. Before she could
70 years
over a guy that she knew a handful of days.
To be fair, it's Chris Pine, and I'm pretty sure he's the one for me. So
I mean, sure.
Yeah, sure. That's hard to argue with.
I mean, I'm a sucker for Chris Pine too, but really, nobody, you met no one in 70, you're Wonder Woman.
I know.
So are you upset more that she didn't meet anybody or that we had to revisit it?
Both.
I mean, I have a lot of problems with some of this stuff, but the fact that she still hung up on this guy, which I get it. It for her, it was her first because she was on her land and it was all women, so it's the first man that she meets and she falls in love with him. So I don't want to dismiss that completely. I mean, she had feelings for him and they were strong, but I mean, after all this time, I mean, he's dead. You have to kind of somehow get through that or whatever. And I mean, after 70 years, I mean, come on. And then the fact that she's willing to sacrifice her powers because of it made me so mad.
So that's a good question. So I didn't take it as she sacrificed her powers purposely. It was the rock itself took what was most important to use, the way I thought I heard a line. So it wasn't she gave them away, it's what was taken from her. Yeah,
I know she didn't do it willingly, but she was and I know that she ended up and the whole denouncing the wishes thing. I mean, I'm not even sure how to unpack all of that, but she seemed to not care as much. She kept, this is the one thing that I want. Why can't I have this one thing? And it just bothered me that this is who she is, and she's willing to to see her grow weaker. I just didn't like it. She is strong, she is powerful, and to see her just continuously get weaker and weaker and weaker, I just didn't like it.
Yeah, exactly. The movie's called Wonder Woman, and there were at least 2 times that I can count where she is basically rescued by a guy.
Yeah.
How
I don't
does
like it.
how is that that it seems antithetical to the entire the entire character of Wonder Woman itself. The whole point of, this seems dumb coming from, this almost seems like mansplaining a little bit, but for me, the point of Wonder Woman is that, like, not to get snazzy, but she don't need no man.
Right. Yeah.
But, there's, like I said, there's at least 2 different occasions where she's basically like, rescued by fucking plain old Steve goddamn Trevor.
I know. And I did have issue with that. And she was, and because she's, well, and maybe it wasn't all throughout because she's getting weaker, but she was a lot more dependent, like on the lasso, the jet, and other tools and things that she has. And I mean, she's basically the female equivalent to Superman in the comics. Like she has the same superhuman strength. She can fly now. She can fly in the comics, so she can fly. And basically, according to Batman, says she's the best melee fighter in the world. And to see her reduced in the movie was so disheartening to me. It really just broke my heart. Because like I said, I thought the first movie was great. I thought it had a lot of heart. It really moved me. I loved it. I thought, oh my gosh, this is what I've been waiting for since I was a little kid, and then, I was really anxious for this movie. And then to see this, I was just like, oh my God, it broke my heart. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's a big problem that I have.
In the first movie, she crawls out of a trench and goes into no man's land. Mm-hmm. And she's like, fuck you guys. Like, I don't give a shit what it's called. I'm fucking Wonder Woman. And she fucking steps out of that trench and she runs and she's deflecting bullets and all these men on the other side of the trench are staring at her going, look at this fucking chick go.
Yeah.
Like, this is amazing. I couldn't do that. And then we get to this movie where Normie Steve shows up and has to basically save her. Like she's a dainty flower.
I didn't like it. And to that point, that was such a great scene that you just brought up with No Man's Land. There were other scenes as well, but that one was such a big moment in that movie. I didn't feel there was really anything like that. There was some good, there was a few good where it was like, okay, but I kept waiting for it to get better. Like I kept waiting for like that moment, that one big moment where you're like, yeah, and we didn't get it. And that was disappointing as well. Cause some of the fight scenes just fell a little flat to me. It wasn't what I wanted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if I completely agree with you guys on a lot of that. I'll give my thoughts on why. But in the first one, I think if I was going to say something I didn't like in relation to that was the fact that as they leave the island, they're in a boat together. And for some reason, they thought it was a great idea for them to sleep together in that boat ride to Europe. Like, it's something where I know a lot of people complained about. It's like, oh, well, the first man she sees and the first time she's alone with him, she can't resist his charm and succumbs to his whims, and they sleep. At least it's inferred that they sleep together. And I know a lot of people had some complaints about that. And again, it's Chris Pine. So, I mean, if I was on a boat alone in the middle ocean going to Europe, I probably would as well. But, I consider myself like a big romantic, and like the scene that I've heard a lot of people complain about in this is as she was leaving Steve, basically like he's telling us like, no, like you got to renounce your wish. I'm holding you back is basically kind of what he's saying. Is like, I'm not worth what you can do for the world. Like, to me, that's a moment that, I think about relationships and things like that. And, we talk about like, well, it was 70 years. Surely she would have found somebody. But to me, it's just a romantic idea. It's like when you find the one, and that's what we're being told that she did, that it's not going to be easy to move on, and you may not be able to move on. I think about, not to get too like sappy, but if I was in that boat and I lost my wife, like I don't think I could move on. Like, how could you go from the person that you consider the love of your life to just the next person you find? And that's kind of, and I don't know, we don't really see her from this movie through the other, Batman v Superman or Justice League, like she's found anybody else. So she's still probably carrying that weight of losing her love. But, I think you could look at it as, he and her both realize that he's holding her back and he's got to go for her to continue on her path in her journey.
Yeah, I mean, sure, but did she
that.
need that? Does she need that? Does she need to realize that? I mean, I think that she's fucking Wonder Woman. Like,
well, without this rock, she would have not had this moment. And I think if you cut this movie out and said like Steve never came back and she never realized like this didn't happen, she still would have been a badass. I just look at this more like this is the situation that happened. She got a wish to wish for what she wanted, and it was. I mean, I guess. Do you guys think she would have had a different wish than to bring him back, or is there something?
What else would she want from the magic wishing rock?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I was overall fine with the wish she made, but I think the point that Rima's making is that like the Wonder Woman at its core is about being a strong woman without anybody holding you up. Being, taking your pain and taking everything and, and soldiering on, because you're just as good. You're just as capable.
Mm-hmm.
And the sense you get from this movie is that, her powers diminish a little bit, and then a man has to swoop in and save the day.
See, I would say that it's the man that diminishes her powers, and he needed to go because he was screwing up her powers. So man is the problem.
Well,
man is always the problem.
man is always the problem. I completely
95% of the time, that is true.
But I think wouldn't it have been more in line with her character if her powers did diminish, that she was, still able to accomplish amazing things without the need of normie Steve? I
guess you're talking about, so the trucks were about to crush her and he stopped that.
Yeah, and then he saves her again when they're in the White House.
White House, yeah. I don't know, and maybe it wouldn't have been as much of an issue if maybe circumstances were maybe somewhat different. I mean, the fact is he died. He died long ago.
Mm-hmm.
What was it? Whatever 70 years ago it was. When the plane exploded and he sacrificed himself, and I feel like it's not like he's out there in the world somewhere and she, isn't able to be with him and she's still, pining for him. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that on purpose. No, it's Chris Pine. Did not do that on purpose. I mean, he's dead, and I know that I'm not saying that that's easy to recover from, and not to diminish, the feelings that they had, even though they didn't know each other for that long. I get that, it's kind of like when you meet that one that sticks with you for a long time, and maybe to a certain point, maybe you don't ever get over that person, but maybe it's because of the circumstances of how he came back, and the fact, I mean, yeah, and to me, it's just there's a lot of problems I have with that. To me, it's a little problematic that, his I don't know what you want to call it. They didn't really, I don't need it needed to be explained, but his soul or whatever you want to call it, sort of just takes over this
completely random person
who
was probably dead, who's probably like at that moment, like where'd his soul go? Did he go to hell? Is that where he was? Was this guy chilling in hell?
Yeah,
while Chris Pine's running around in a rando stranger suit that Wonder Woman then sleeps with?
Uh-huh.
I think what happened is, so Sam Bakula went back from 1998.
Oh, it's Quantum Leap.
Right, and he went back in time. So this random dude is now in that Quantum Leap machine, talking with Ziggy and them.
Now I have all kinds of issues with Quantum Leap because I love that show. And now when someone pointed that out, I think it was on Twitter, and they were like, oh, now we got to go revisit the whole Quantum Leap thing. And I'm thinking, oh no, that's going to ruin that show for me now, because I absolutely love that show. But that was a problem for me. And maybe that's where my bigger issue was, is because this was just never going to happen. This was not natural, and it was not right. It wasn't like he was still alive out in the world somewhere, or that he came back in some other way that which I don't know how they were. I was wondering how they were going to make it make sense when they were talking about how Chris Pine was going to come back. So I'm like, okay, well, he died, right? And it's not just that he died, but it's 70 years later. He would have definitely been, well, he would have been dead from age anyway. But so curious how they were going to play that out. And so when this rolls out, to me, it was just kind of cringy. It was problematic. This
it's plot devicey.
Yeah, it was. And this poor guy that and
it wasn't even a good plot devicey.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't even good.
But it's to protect them from writing themselves in a corner, because it's like, well, we want to bring Steve back. How do we do that? With a wish. Well,
it's a movie about a magic wishing rock. Why not just say magic wishing rock? What was the point in being so specific as to, well, we have to explain how Steve comes back, like he can't just show up. Why can't he just show up?
Well, the reason they don't want him just to show up, because you got to build it so that he has to go away. Like, he's only signed on for 2 movies. So if we bring him back, then we either have to kill him again, which we already did. So we put him in a body of some random dude, and then we make it so that, she has to wish him away, because we can't just have it be a weird body, and we got to also have it where she loses her power.
But when she wishes him away, then doesn't that technically kill him again?
Oh my God, that would be awesome if you hear him like, oh God, it burns! Oh, not again!
That would be terrible. We didn't see what happened. She turned around and left and took off running, so we didn't see what happened to him, did we?
Yeah, well, I guess I'm just asking myself, Of all the little plot holes that I find in this movie, that's the one that, the more I think about it, the more I'm just like, why? Why put that much effort in? Why, bend yourself backwards to say, well, he's got a quantum leap into this rando stranger's body, and then he goes away. But then the random guy doesn't remember anything. Like that. Maybe that guy had a family.
Oh, if he did, he doesn't have a wife now.
I mean,
there's chaos going on in the world. You think their parents are like, I wonder where our son's in Washington, D.C. He lives there. He has an apartment. I wonder if he's okay. Yeah. I haven't been able to get a hold of him for
37 missed calls on his answering machine.
Yeah, exactly. And okay, so and there was no consent. This guy didn't give consent.
Thank you.
They're sleeping together. Yeah. This guy has absolutely. I mean, he has no control over what's happening with his body.
Oh God, what if she comes back pregnant?
Yep.
She knocks on his door.
Yeah, Wonder Woman. I mean, no, I'm not. No, I'm not dropping that word. But I mean, Wonder Woman is sleeping with what we say is Chris Pine, but it's not Chris Pine. It's some random fucking dude
who has no clue what's happening.
Exactly. And then they have this scene that it definitely looks like the last scene of the movie. Mm-hmm. Did that definitely feel tacked on to you? We're coming out at Christmas time. We gotta put this. We'll film it and we'll put some Christmas trees around. It's a Christmas movie.
I could see that. I don't know if I felt that so much, but I could see that they could have done that.
Because originally this movie was supposed to come out in July, but you get the scene, this 2 minutes at the end where it's it's Christmas trees. It's Christmas time. Anyway.
Well, because they kind of forced the July 4th too. So it's you don't really know what time it is. And it's it's fireworks. Oh, because it's July 4th.
Yeah.
Well, let's fly into the fireworks.
It definitely, it 100% felt to me that it was a plot device, and it wasn't a good one. Why not? It's a magic wishing rock. Why doesn't she just wish for Steve Trevor, and then Steve Trevor just shows up? And then he's like, I don't know what happened. I remember I was flying a plane, and now I'm here.
Yeah, I think that was just because, so they said that she lost her power, but I think if they brought him back, just goes back to the concern of okay, well, we got to kill him because we don't want him back for any more of these. And so we'll put him in this body so that we have to would you call that a quagmire?
I call it a clusterfuck. That's what I call it.
Clusterfuck.
It's a story about a magic wishing rock. Why doesn't she just say, oh, I wish Steve was back. And then Steve just shows up and he's like, oh, I don't know what happened. I was flying a plane and then it got really hot. And now I'm standing in the middle of Washington, D.C. I don't know what happened.
And that should have been.
I could have bought a reincarnation story before I could, Well,
maybe that should have been the movie too, instead of her losing her powers. Like, you could have had him in that body, but that's your issue. That's your situation. Is like, he's back, but he's not really back, because then you have to fight with the whole idea of like, okay, well, to get rid of this, basically, I've got Steve back, but I've taken this guy's life away from him. Mm-hmm. So then it's the conundrum of, okay, well, can I keep Steve, or do I need to give this guy back? Who maybe she meets his family or something like that.
But you see, like that whole thing, like, oh, what about this other guy? None of that came into consideration at all.
I mean, What if this guy wakes up after Steve is gone and he's super confused? He's like, what the hell happened these last couple of days? He gets arrested for stealing a jet. And
yeah, this dude's life is ruined.
Yeah. Why is my trash can full of condom wrappers? Mm-hmm. What the hell happened?
It's like he got roofied or something.
Yeah.
It's not cool. I don't know.
He's like, why is my balls hurt?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And why do I have a hankering for a cigarette?
Yeah.
What numbers were we on?
That was my number 3.
All right, so Richard, what's your number 3?
Actually, the whole Steve Trevor thing was my number 3. To me, like, I mean, I had other other holes that, other plot holes there, but that was probably my biggest one. I didn't understand the point. What was the point?
So for my number 3, I'm gonna go with non-villain villains. So essentially, we've got, this guy who, I don't think either one of the villains you could look at and be like, they're super evil, terrible people. They made bad decisions. Like Max he had greed, obviously. And then Kristen Wiig's, what was her name? Beth, what was her actual name in the movie? Barbara. So like she had jealousy. But I feel like, all the stuff that we're talking about with like missed opportunities and like confusion over like what the heck the plot of this movie should be, wouldn't it make more sense that the big bad for this movie would have been the god that created the rock? Like if that was the person she had to fight, would that have made more sense?
Yes. I mean, possibly, but then you run into like, I feel like if you did that, then it's, it's Act 3 of Wonder Woman 1 all over again.
Potentially.
Well, I mean, I guess that, I guess it could almost be a repeat of the first movie. Like when she was fighting Ares, but I think I would have liked it better with an action fight at the end instead of, her slinking down in a corner, talking her way, through to Max. Cause I really just disappointed.
It felt kind of mellow. I mean, I heard some people say like, it's great. It was cool to see that because it was more of a, you don't have to solve everything with a closed fist. But, even then, like, I think if the god that created this was kind of like a trickster type god, I can't remember who it was specifically, but you play it more like a Joker type person who like has people do the stuff for him. And then she has to battle through those people to get to him to stop him or her, whoever the god was. I don't remember. But, it didn't like at the end of especially at the end of this movie, you don't feel like anything has been accomplished, right? Because this rock is maybe gone, maybe back. The bad guys are no longer bad guys. Maybe ? On Cheetah. But I mean, and I'm trying to feel like if this is because we've been conditioned with superhero movies that every superhero movie in the last 10 years, good or bad, is leading up to something bigger. So like you think about Marvel, right? Like, Iron Man 3. I hated Iron Man 3. I saw that opening night.
Yeah, I would agree.
Despised it.
Yeah,
but
it wasn't my favorite.
As I was leaving the theater, I'm like, well, but that leads into something different. Like there's something I can look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
And with this movie, even if they had at least some kind of character to be like, you know what? I didn't like Wonder Woman 84, but oh my gosh, it's leading into this. But you don't get that. So you feel, I felt kind of empty, especially again, like with the villains, not like the closure on the villains is that they've seen the errors of their way. question mark on Cheetah, and they're okay, I guess. But like even then, like this whole world, everybody in this world had their wish granted, and then it got taken away within like a day. And that is not referenced at all in any of the other movies. Like, wouldn't you think that'd be a big thing in like Batman v Superman?
Yeah. No, I remember when I wished for my parents back. Remember when Batman's like, remember when I wished for my parents back, and then you told me that I should take it back, so I did, and so I watched him die all over again.
Yeah, they came back in somebody else's body and said, "No, Bruce, it's me, your dad. It's me, Bruce. It's Martha." Yeah. But my number 3 is just kind of not in villains, and I feel like I'm not super versed in DC like Wonder Woman villains, but I feel like this is a great opportunity for you to like showcase villains as well, and I don't think they did a great job with that.
I wasn't happy with the trope of I'm a nerdy girl with glasses, but I'm gonna take my glasses off, run some Aquanet through my hair, and now all of a sudden I'm super badass and confident. Like, can we stop that? Can that stop being a thing in movies?
Yeah, that was Superman too, right? Like when he's Clark Kent.
It was. I mean, I guess like it doesn't bother me as much with Superman, and I'm not exactly sure why. I think it's just because like that was Superman's thing always. Like in the comics, like that was always the concurrent thing. Like, like Superman has glasses, he's mild-mannered Clark Kent, and he takes the glasses off and he's fucking Superman. But like I just like the trope, like that trope in any movie, like that trope was, an 80s trope. Like, you look at like... I mean,
90s. I mean, she's all that.
Yeah,
they did the same
she's
thing.
all that. I was thinking, what was that John Hughes movie? Was it 16
Pretty
Candles?
Pink? 16
Pretty
Candles,
in Pink.
Yeah. Was it Pretty in Pink or 16 Candles? Although...
Could have been both.
Great scene with Christopher Reeves when he goes from taking off the glasses to Superman.
Oh, when he opens his shirt and he's got
his
Superman.
Yeah. Because he kind of hunkers down and you see him as he's take off his glasses, just like without saying a word, just like you see him go from Clark Kent to Superman in like one instant. You're just like,
I love those Superman movies. God, I was such a nerd over those movies back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, can that trope go away where,
it's, it's just lazy. It's like the audience when they see like glasses on anybody and like slunker down and like, oh, well, you can't. Oh, look, their suitcase popped open and all their papers went out. And they say, hey, can you help me? And everybody's like, whatever,
shut
nerd.
Up, loser. Punch.
Yeah, it's just, I think it's lazy writing that, it's something you could put in, the audience gets it, and then you get to move on.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the problem. I mean, not to spoil my number 1, but that's my number 1. It's bad writing.
Well, Rima, what do you have for your number 2?
Well, my number 2 was, again, I hate to keep picking on this movie, but I can't help it. I just have to get it out. I've been sitting on this, and I tried to love it, and the more I thought about it, and I just kept seeing things that I didn't like. And another thing that I didn't like was how we didn't really seem to, all throughout the movie, I didn't really feel that Wonder Woman at any point was in any type of immediate danger or have any true threat to her life. Like her biggest thing was Steve. Like that was her her downfall, her threat. And I hated that. And I've talked about that. But I feel like throughout the superhero movies, whether it's DC or it's Marvel, you get this point where your superhero is like, oh my gosh, they're either getting the hell beat out of them, they're in some, precarious situation that, this might be what beats them down. This villain or something might really be the one to take them out. And I didn't get it at all. She barely interacted with Lord. Cheetah didn't really seem that big of a challenge to her. There was a bit of a fight scene there, but I needed her to overcome something major, in this movie and not just getting over a guy. So I was disappointed with that because I didn't really feel that there was any true threat to Wonder Woman at all.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah. Like you said, like the whole, like her hero's trial in this movie was basically like getting over a guy. And, to put it in its simplest terms. And for, somebody called Wonder Woman, like, it's kind of sad.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted, at least in the first movie, when she's fighting Ares, you were, or for me anyway, I should say, I won't speak for anyone else, but my experience, I thought, oh my gosh, she's battling a god, she's half god, but she could really be taken down here, and I was, that got scary. You could kind of see it going, either way, and that I thought felt right. It felt true to what you want in your superhero movies, and this didn't bring that for me at all. So I was disappointed that we didn't get to see that, unfortunately.
Yeah, the third act of this, I mean, the whole movie was rough, to be fair, but the third act, like the toughest thing she's fighting through is the wind, and then the lasso of truth to kind of spread gospel to the world.
Yeah, explain where the wind came from. Why was there wind?
Yes, thanks.
Yeah.
That's a question I had too.
The magic wishing power wind, is that?
Richard, I don't know if you know the science of satellites, but when they're bringing down a bunch of wishes, it creates a sphere of wind.
That's right, I forgot. Yeah, because satellites touch people.
That whole part, like the whole president part, was weird and was very stretchy. Of like, wait, it's like it's a metaphor. It's like, but you said touch. It's like, yeah, it's a metaphor.
He even says it. He's like, it's a figure of speech.
Yeah.
He's like, but you said it. He's like, yeah, it's a figure of speech.
It
really doesn't work.
It goes up to us like, don't you wish it actually touched people? It's like, sure. It's like, damn it, you already used your wish.
Oh yeah, no. See, yeah, again. That's the whole. You know what? I'm gonna lighten the mood. I'm gonna bring a good thing in.
All right,
for
good.
for
your
my
number two.
What? Yeah, my number two. I'm going to bring a good thing in. One thing that I was happy with. I was happy with the Linda Carter cameo.
Yes, thank you.
That was a good thing. Mm-hmm. That made me smile.
Yeah, I liked it. I kind of wish it happened in the movie though.
It kind of happens in the movie because they do that little flashback with her.
Yeah.
Little flashback with her in the armor, but you don't really know it's her. But then you find out it's her, and then you're like, oh, that's cool.
Well, just to give myself a little pat on the back, I feel like I picked her out when they did show, like when they just showed her eyes. As she's like battling and holding back all of mankind. And, they were kind of showing that battle that she's having and holding them back. And they show her eyes. And I was like, man, looks like Linda Carter's eyes.
Yeah.
Just because, Linda Carter, she's a beautiful woman. She stands out. And of course, I was totally addicted to the series, as a kid. Linda Carter was my Wonder Woman.
She still looks like fucking Wonder Woman.
She's amazing. She's absolutely amazing. So I kind of thought, I was like, gosh, now, did I even know? I mean, I had no clue Linda Carter had this cameo. I didn't know anything or, wasn't spoiled or anything like that. But I was, and it didn't even occur to me like, oh my gosh, could they have her? But I was just like, that looks like Linda Carter.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was a magical moment.
I guess like in like your sense, Rima, like that would be a really cool Easter egg to find. But I always feel like with those, like even then, like you saw it and you're like, oh, that looks like Linda Carter. And you're like, well, that wouldn't be right.
Yeah. And
so the whole movie, you're like, if it like takes you out of the movie for a minute, at least it would for me. But instead of just being like, front and center, like here's Linda Carter and this is who she is. You're like, oh crap, that's amazing. Now let's see her do something badass. And let's move back into the movie instead of having to get that callback at the end. I don't know. It's just. I feel like sometimes it's one of those things where they try to outthink the room.
No, see, I'm okay with it because, like, okay, in an earlier episode of our Shawn, we talked about a very cool thing that happens in Mandalorian where you fourth wall are you're going over the fourth wall and you're meta thinking something and going, well, that's not what I think. That's what's happening is not really what's happening, right? Like it's definitely something else.
But to be fair, that's the roller coaster ride up.
Yes.
You're seeing it, then with this, it was like just a straight ride and like a little bloop. Like, wait, was that a bump? Did I just go over a bump? Then you have to wait like 40 minutes for you to go downhill.
Fair. Yeah, fair point. I was
That's
happy
fair.
with
Yeah.
Linda Carter.
I do like that they put her in there. I mean, I feel like it's kind of like Stan Lee cameos. Like any Wonder Woman thing, you have to have her in there.
Oh, yeah.
I thought
She
it was
still
in.
looks like Wonder Woman. She looks fucking amazing.
She is amazing. She's always just, yeah, that's who I looked up to as a kid, and that's who forever will be Wonder Woman to me. I loved it. I thought it was amazing. I definitely I thought, okay, well, the movie is as many problems as I had with it. That made it worth it for me. I was like, to get to that point. And I feel like I knew it was her too. Just the minute I saw her beautiful black hair as she's walking with her back to the camera, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, what are they doing right now?" And then they went there, and I just thought it was beautiful. I cried like I was, and just my heart was just full of joy, like I was 5 again. It was just a beautiful moment. It was wonderful.
That's awesome.
I loved it. I like how they put her in there like that and made her like the most amazing, best Amazon warrior, of all time.
Yeah. That was good stuff. So there you go. See, I'm not completely shitting on things. Linda Carter was all right.
The best part of the movie was 36 seconds.
Well,
so for my number
storm, Shawn.
So for my number 2, I just have the body swap taboo.
Yeah,
that was in this movie. We covered that quite a bit, but yeah, I think there's a whole horror movie in Wonder Woman that we haven't explored.
No, yeah.
Well, they haven't explored. We've explored it, but
yep. Quantum Leap, I guess.
Well, I wonder if Chris Pine or Steve remembers everything, like wherever he went back to, because Quantum Leap, Sam and whoever he leaped into never remembered any of it.
That's true. Like Chris Pine. Does that mean that Chris Pine went to hell? Is he in hell now?
Do you think that was the awkward, why there was an awkward exchange? Because he remembered everything that happened, and he saw her, was like, "Oh God, that's that chick that was in my room for a week. Play it cool, play it cool."
I think you left your underwear in my house.
Oh goodness, yeah, awkward.
So Rima, what do you have for your number 1?
Well, my number 1 was the mid-credit scene with Linda Carter, because I wanted to end it on a positive note, and definitely that was, like I said, there were some moments. They were far and few between that made me happy, throughout. I tried to, find a couple of moments that were like, yeah, that I like this. But a lot of it fell flat, but that was the part that really made me really happy. So I made it my number 1, and it was pretty short and sweet. So I don't have anything to add to that, from what I talked about earlier when Richard brought it up.
But it felt good.
It felt good, and I wanted to end it there on a positive note, because I'm like you, didn't want to try and poo all over the whole thing. I wanted to try and come out on a high point a little bit.
I do because what Richard was alluding to, he kind of got that experience with his thing, and I love hearing people get to at least have a little bit of that, because as we all know, I'm a huge Ninja Turtle fan, and I'm still waiting for my moment.
Yeah.
So
we're sorry.
It happens.
One
Michael
day.
Bay.
Stupid Michael Bay.
So Rich, what do you have for your number 1?
All right. So yeah, I kind of alluded to it earlier, but just lazy, bad writing, and this movie is a movie that the more I thought about it, the more questions that just come up. Like Magic Wishing Rock. Okay. How did Cheetah get 2 wishes, basically?
I think I have an answer for that.
Okay, well, hang on, because how did the kid try to use the wishing rock 3 different times and never got his wish?
I don't have an answer for that.
How does Steve know how to fly a modern fighter jet?
Well, Richard, in 1917, as you know, the planes were not very sophisticated, so he wouldn't.
Oh, okay. How did the jet manage to fly to Cairo and back in the span of 4 hours?
Yeah, it wasn't very long.
No. I had 5 other questions that I can't think of. Yeah, the wind. Where did the magic wind come from? Is he standing in some sort of light that is, and there's some sort of wind, and Why is the president wishing for more nukes? Like, he grabs the president's hand and he's like, what is your one wish? The president of the United States is not going to say, I don't know, world peace? No. What he says is, I want 80,000 nuclear weapons. Like, what?
Mm-hmm.
And out of everybody that makes their wishes in the world, like, nobody's going to be like, I just wish everybody be happy and nice and get along.
And there's one person that says, I wish for more wishes.
That asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's always one out there in the group.
Like,
well, and then the rescinding of the wishes too. It's like, what if, I mean, so I get it. There was a lot of people wishing for a lot of things for their own self-interest and things that were not great for the world. But
not everybody does that.
I know. What if there was like a little kid that wished his cancer went away?
Oh, great.
Yeah. Oh,
now that kid has cancer again.
The world's a better place. You need to rescind your wish.
You got to rescind your wish. You got to bring your cancer back.
But the doctor said I only have an hour to live.
I wish my parents were alive. Yeah. Now he's got to watch him die all over again. And like you said, like what? Like not everybody's going to wish for something selfish. Like I do think that there was out of the, this is 1984. I guess. So out of the,
we're told,
out of the, 5-6 billion people in the world, not one person's going to go, I wish for world peace.
Maybe they all just canceled each other out.
Maybe.
So there's a young Joker's like, I just want to watch the world burn.
Like,
no, the only one of all your stuff that I think I can explain was the cheetah one. So her first wish was actually on The Rock. So that was her wish and her contract with The Rock. Not Dwayne Johnson, but the actual Rock. Uh-huh. So when Max becomes The Rock, it's like a different entity. So her one wish is granted with him.
So because of magic wishing rock law, then she was able to get through that loophole.
Yeah, and the reason I say that is because
doesn't that mean that Diana would get another wish if she grabbed onto Lord?
I would say so, yeah.
Because she wished on the Rock.
Yeah, so she would get another wish.
And what happened to the guy that just wished for a coffee? Does that mean he had to rescind his wish?
He would get another wish.
Coffee? How does that work?
So he's just like throws up. But so the reason I say that is because I think when Max, this is just me putting logic in a movie that didn't seem to have much of it. When Max rescinds his wish because he's rescinded being the Rock, the wishing rock, all the wishes that were made with him become null and void because Barbara says, she's like, I'm not going to rescind my wish. She's like, I'm not doing it. So what some people are saying is like, oh, well, we see her, so she must have rescinded her wish. But not really. We see her looking the same way we did before she made her second wish. So my theory is that when Max rescinded his wish, all the other wishes became null. But since she wished on the original Rock, she still has Diana's powers. Or she's like Diana, basically. She's like Wonder Woman.
Okay.
I don't know. That's why I have a question mark with it. But I feel like she's still.
See, the fact that you now have to stretch and pull yourself to try and explain it, I think that underlies my point that there's the writing on this movie was lazy. As much as I loved everybody's performance, and I did, I liked Kristen. I liked Kristen Wiig's performance, Gal Gadot, Chris Pine. I liked everybody's performance, but they, I mean, as much as hard as they tried to lift, they, couldn't. They just couldn't. You can't polish. They couldn't polish it enough. It's just bad. It was just a badly written movie. And
Patty Jenkins should have just stuck to the directing and not the writing.
Yeah, the movie to me felt like it was a bunch of people in the room, and somebody said, "What if we had a scene where Wonder Woman's jumping from car to car? That sounds cool. Well, how do we get there? They go to Egypt. Well, they're in Washington D.C. How are they going to get to Egypt? They steal a jet. Okay. All right. Yeah, keep going. They steal a jet, and then they fly to Egypt, where there's a bunch of cars, and she jumping around from car to car.
You know, a good question with that too is why DC? Like
why Egypt?
But this is the DC universe too. Like you rarely see them in like actual cities.
You're right. My oldest daughter made that point. Or no, my son made that point. He's like, why are they in an actual place? Like Metropolis, Gotham City, Central City. Why are they in an actual place? I was like, I don't know.
He's like, it's just a movie. Sit down. Why are they wishing on a rock?
That kid wished on a rock 3 times. He didn't get his wish.
You know what? Actually, you mentioned wind. The time you see wind is when a wish was granted. Because I was just going to say his one wish was when he wished to be like great like his dad.
Oh, okay. So you're saying everybody making their wishes creates the magic wishing wind vortex?
Yeah, wind tornado.
Okay.
This movie wasn't bad now that I think about it.
Nope, still bad. Go watch it again, Shawn.
I don't know. What are your thoughts, Rima?
I mean, I agree with a lot of what Richard said. I wanted to love it, and I tried to push everything that I loved about it and try to like deny all the stuff. And that's what I'll typically do is you know, because I love a character so much or something, or a franchise or something, and I'm always just like, just be blind to how bad something is, and then finally someone will really talk me through it and be like, you know, really, you really liked it because what did you think about this and that? And I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe you have a point. And I tried to do that with this movie, and I just tried to kind of deny how bad it was because I wanted it to be good. I had so many hopes on this and wanted it to be good, and it just fell flat for me. I had just too many problems with it. Like I said, there were a couple of moments that were great, and you know, I did like seeing the Amazons again in the beginning. You know, I thought that was cool. I do think they had a missed opportunity. If you're going to have freaking Robin Wright in a movie or in this movie again, like they had her in the first one, then she needs to be in a badass fight scene. That was a completely wasted opportunity to have her and the other Amazons. And I thought it was cool. They had like, it was almost like the Olympic Games or something, you know, kind of happening here.
Yeah.
That was cool.
So
yeah,
it was cool. I love seeing these badass Amazonian athletes. They're absolutely amazing and they're fun to watch, but it would have been really cool. I'm like, if you're going to have them in a movie again, let's have them in another badass fight scene. So I thought that was wasted. So there was some things I liked and loved and thought that was kind of good, but I can't.
No, I get it. I did it with Rise of Skywalker. It's okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. We've all been there. And speaking of that, how are you guys feeling about Rogue Squadron?
I was just going to ask Rich about that after seeing this. How do you feel?
Honestly, yeah, it makes me slightly nervous about Rogue Squadron.
Is Patty Jenkins writing it? Because I didn't realize.
I don't know if she's right. I know she is directing. I do not know if she's writing.
Okay. Because she was only a writer on Wonder Woman 84. She just directed Wonder Woman. She didn't write on that one.
I do feel like when you're dealing with something like Star Wars and Disney, I feel like Disney, you know, is going to want to keep a bit of a tighter rein on the ship. So, but again, I was totally fine with Pat. I was like, okay, Pat, like, great. That's cool. After Wonder Woman 84, like, I don't know, man.
I feel like she was directing and not writing. I feel like that's where we had a problem. At least,
yeah. I mean, and this is the only Star Wars movie that's right now been announced. I mean, Taika's supposed to be working on one, but there's been nothing. I mean, nothing about that. But right now, this is the only Star Wars film that's in the works, technically. So I feel like they'll have. I feel like Disney and Lucasfilm will want it to keep a tighter rein on that ship.
Well, I mean, you have to think too. Probably with her directing, she can only do so much too, and then they kind of take over, you know, the editing and the end of it. So
yeah. Well, I mean, you look at with Wonder Woman, for example, like what's the one thing that we've always been complaining about when it comes to DC movies is we feel like it's incohesive, is that there's nobody steering the overall ship of the DC film universe. And I think that the reason we got Wonder Woman 84 in the first place was because Patty Jenkins made a great Wonder Woman movie, and then Warner Brothers was like, "Holy shit, that happened! Okay, here, do another one. Just make another one."
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that she had pretty, some pretty loose guidelines when it came to
this movie had zero ties to the DCEU at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was not even a hint. Like the first one, she's like, "Oh, here I am right before Justice League, and let me go back in time."
Mm-hmm.
But here there's none of that.
No, yeah, you're right. There's nothing that ties this to any other DC property at all, because and like I said, I think that the reason that we got this movie was because she made a really good first one. And I think that Warner Brothers was actually kind of surprised with the success of the first one. And so they were like, "Oh, okay, this works. We found something that works. Guys, DC's not a complete bag of shit. We found something that works. Tell her to do another one. Okay, go do another one. Do it again."
Yeah, it feels
she did
like
not
that.
do it again.
Lightning did not strike twice in this case, unfortunately.
And so for my last one, we've already really kind of covered it. It was just the monkey paw, be careful what you wish for kind of thing. I don't know if there's a lot of that stuff in like Wonder Woman lore at all, like, because it doesn't seem like this is an item that's like her kryptonite or anything like that. Like it just seems like it was hey, let's work this thing in and create like an Aladdin-esque story.
Yeah.
But well, it sounds like we all rated this extremely high of a movie.
Okay, here's the better question. All right. It is still on HBO Max for the next, I think, like 3 weeks. Will anybody watch it again? And for me, that's a negatory. I will not watch this movie again.
I think I'll watch the first one.
I was just going to say the same thing. I kind of feel like I want to watch the first one again.
Yeah.
To bring back because I don't want to go out like not being happy or loving a Wonder Woman movie. So I might have to go watch the first one to kind of reaffirm a little bit that there are possibilities, because they've announced the third one.
They did.
Yeah.
They did announce a third one.
Yeah. So,
is Gal Gadot going to be in it, or have they announced that far yet?
Oh yeah, they're considering it a Wonder Woman trilogy. So Patty Jenkins, Gal Gadot. I don't know anything. I mean, clearly anything about plot or cast other than Gal Gadot. So I don't know.
Yeah.
They got to do better.
Gotta do better.
Well, I feel like we've kind of picked this movie dry. Do you guys have anything else you want to add on to our Wonder Woman 84 discussion?
The only thing I'll add is that, I clearly I didn't love this movie as much as what I wanted to. Had high hopes. I really wanted to love it. I tried to be in denial after it was over, because I'm like, no, it really wasn't that bad, right? It really wasn't that bad. So while I didn't love it, and there was so much room for improvement, it's getting a lot of hate. People are calling it like the worst movie of like the decade, and I'm like, you know what? I've seen worse movies. I've seen worse movies. So
have they seen Out of the Shadows?
I know. I mean, there are some really terrible movies out there. So while I don't know that I would qualify it as even the worst movie of the year, it wasn't great, but I wouldn't go that far. It's getting some really bad stuff out there. So it's not as unbearable as what some are saying.
I mean, yeah, I feel like that's the internet. I will say, and I'm hoping that I get a pass for criticism. The one thing that I was slightly afraid of when it came to being as critical as I was of this movie was, well, you hate it because you're a man. And
No, I don't get that.
Well, that's true, Richard.
I know. I knew it.
When I said let's cover Wonder Woman, you're like, what's she gonna do?
Oh,
I was like, Richard, don't say it.
Where she makes Chris Pine a sandwich? No, I mean, Shawn and I both said, like our wives were, super excited to watch this movie, and by the end of it, like my wife was like, no, that's not the Wonder Woman I wanted.
Is your wife like a big Wonder Woman fan to begin with, or?
She had, she wasn't like religiously reading the comics. I think she watched the Linda Carter TV show.
Gotcha.
I would say like for her, she was much more into Captain Marvel than Wonder Woman, but Wonder Woman was definitely a close second for her. I think the reason that she was really into Captain Marvel was because it was set in the 90s, and that's, kind of the decade that she grew up in.
Yeah.
Just like myself. And okay, like, and there's a prime example. Like, I felt like Captain Marvel, set in the 90s, leaned hard into that 90s thing.
Agreed.
Yeah.
There's a blockbuster video. There's 90s music throughout that entire movie.
Yeah, I agree. Well, and Marvel does a pretty good job with their music and soundtrack, where they had an opportunity here to do that and they did not. Even some of the arcade games in the mall, when they had the kids in the arcade, some of those video games were like from 85, 86. I think there might have been one from like 87. I'm like, come on. Well, let's get some authenticity here, guys.
Just do a little research. That's all it takes.
You're making a multi-million-dollar movie.
Yeah. I was just asking because, like, Tiffany, I think her extent to Wonder Woman is like maybe one or two of the original when it came on one day when we were watching it, and then the first Wonder Woman. And I don't think she left this one like thinking like, oh, this was horrible, or this wasn't for me. I think she just kind of left it as like, well, it's an okay movie.
Yeah.
That's good. I appreciate her ability.
Now that I say that, I feel like now that I think about it, they made this movie for the masses. Like, they made it for people who don't like comic books, which is a problem DC has had for a long time.
Yeah, I kind of see what you're saying. Like, they tried to not make a comic book movie.
Yeah.
With comic book characters. Oh, one other thing I had that just popped into my head. How was Cheetah able to rip off that armor that was built up in the plot so hard?
Like
she's just like ripping chunks off.
Yeah, it withstood mankind.
It withstood the entirety of mankind crashing upon it. And you get a big kitty in it, and she's able to fucking rip it apart like it's made out of tinfoil.
Yeah, I had an issue with that.
Anyway, I feel like I'm hating on it too much, and I can't.
Well, Richard, just think of it this way. It's a metaphor. One woman is much stronger than an army of man.
There you go. There you go.
Well, okay.
Glass half full. Glass half full.
We'll go with that.
Well, as we were kind of finishing up this episode, Richard, what are some of your closing thoughts?
You know what? You don't want my closing thoughts. You want Rima's closing thoughts. That's what you want.
Oh gosh, do we?
Because end on a high. We got to end on a high.
End on a high. Closing thoughts. It wasn't. I'll just repeat myself. It wasn't as unbearable as I think some would say. There were some good moments. I did enjoy, even though it seemed like, why did it take her so long to get there? I did enjoy the flying because I thought, this is my Wonder Woman. So there were some, positivity there. At least I know some people didn't like the whole flying thing, and I didn't really like how long it's like. Well, it took her 70 years to get there, but we got there, and that's what I like. See, I don't like exactly how she got there and what it took to get her there, but for me, that was because I'm like, yeah, this is my Wonder Woman. So I'll leave it there. Could have been a little bit shorter. But
yeah, it was a 2.5 hour movie.
Yeah, they could have trimmed off some of the fat for sure.
Yeah.
I did hear somebody say, like, did we get the director's cut of this? because it was on HBO Max.
I kind of wondered that too, because since they knew it was coming to HBO Max, and that's what probably a majority of people were going to watch on, if this was the director's cut of the movie. I mean, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Well, as we're tying up, Rima, do you want to throw out some of your spots to check out your amazing podcast, Strange Indeed?
Amazing podcast. Well, gosh, thanks.
The podcast where the co-host read the show notes.
Aw. Yeah, I mean, you can find us on podcastica.com, where, we're currently covering there on Strange Indeed. We're covering the CBS All Access limited series, The Stand, right now. So if you're into that and watching that, it'd be awesome to check us out and let us know what you think about the show. So yeah, go to Podcastica and find us and find all the other great podcasts, and that'd be great. And if you listen back far enough, you'll get some episodes with Shawn on there.
Yeah, where we cover one of the best 80s throwbacks, Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Well, I just also want to thank our amazing patrons. One of them, Rima, Wendy, and also Aaron. They've been long sponsors of our show. We really appreciate it.
Yay, Wendy.
I know you're fantastic people.
All right. Well, that's our show, episode 341, the best Wonder Woman 1984 movie review featuring Rima.
Until next time, I'm Rima.
And I'm Shawn.
And whoa. Which show is this, Shawn?
Oh, sorry. Well, that's all the Bromance have for this show. I'm Shawn.
And I'm Richard.
And Richard is strange indeed.
Oh, I see what happened. Damn it.
Perfect.
Why is it always on my end?
And I'm recording locally, so Richard, whenever you're ready, just let us know. Professional.
I'm professional.
Are you recording?
Yeah, I'm recording.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I'm not in the cold open.
Yeah, you're at the end.
I'm at the end, but I'm ready when you are.
Okay.
Hey, everybody. I'm Rima.
And I'm Shawn.
And I'm Richard. Back up. This is not Strange Indeed. All right? It's not. I'm an improver, and that's how it goes. Anyway.
Perfect.
We three are speaking.
That was the cold open, Richard.
The Language of Bromance.
All right, you ready to start from the top?
Yeah, I am.
Because that's going to go before our music. It's a cold open.
Oh, I see.
Now, did you even read my show notes?
I did. I'm looking at them right now.
You know, Richard, like when I was on a different show, my show notes were read, is all I'm saying.